Thank you once again for making it a date. We are here just like we promised, and the debate will start shortly. But I need to clarify a certain aspect of this so that you prepare your mind on what to expect. For this first session, we'll have what we call presentations across board. We'll have presentations. And each institution will be scored according to performance. And at the end of the day, results will be announced. The minimum any school can have is 50%. So any school that falls short of that will not move to the next stage. The next stage, which will be tomorrow, will be the debate proper, where we'll have teams opposing each other. Ibadan University, all right? Yeah? Since you can do better than that, they have come in from a long distance. Ibadan University. Thank you very much. Secondly, we have University. University from Benue State. All right? Then Veritas University. Veritas, thank you. Then the host university. I expect a more resounding applause from here. The host university. Nigerian Turkish Nile University. Where are they? They are hosts today. Then Babcock University, all the way from Ogun State. Let's give them a hand of applause. And finally, for today, we have, where are they? Bayes University. Thank you very much. Babcock University will start.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Emmanuel Ukami from Nigerian Defense Academy. I am the chairman of the panel of judges, and by my left here is Rachel Abejide from National Population Commission. By my right is Endurance Intadi from Nigerian Defense Academy. I am sure the participants, they are aware of the rules of the game. So I think we are about starting now. We have which university? Babcock University. The first person, you know your time is 7 minutes. Second, you have 5 minutes. And the third person, you have 3 minutes. So the first person can start.
Salus Populis est suprema lex, which means that the welfare of the people shall be the supreme law. Section 14, subsection 2b of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria states that the welfare and the security of the people shall be the primary purpose of the government. Health, being a part of the welfare of the people, must be at the front line of the policies of any government that intends to grow. From the heart of God's own university, Babcock University is an ardent advocate for change, here to vehemently lead you to the logical conclusion that the provision of mass employment is a guarantee for good health status. It indeed suffices to define the key points in this topic, which are guarantee, health, mass employment, good, and status. Health was defined by the WHO in 1948 as a state of complete mental, physical, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of illnesses and diseases. Guarantee may be defined as the assurance for the fulfillment of a condition. Status may be defined as the position of a thing at a particular time, and good means a thing of high quality and not extremely excellent. Our argument, therefore, is that the provision of mass employment would indeed bring an assurance of good health status for the citizens. We will be corroborating our arguments based on the following premises. First, that the provision of employment in several sectors will bring about preventive and curative health. Second, that health is wealth. Third, that dealing with health issues from the area of mass employment is attacking the problem from the roots and not the branches, which is indeed a good approach. And fourthly, that a good income will bring about a low mortality rate in any economy. Logic. Health is wealth. Premise 1. Wealth is needed for income generation is necessary for the provision of wealth. Income generation can be sustained through employment. Therefore, good health status is to a large extent bolstered by mass employment. According to a health survey carried out in Canada, it was said that 73% of the high-income earners have excellent health, while 47% of the low-income earners have excellent health. Res ipsa loquitur. The facts speak for itself, and it just shows us that people earning higher income have better health status than people with lower income. According to the general economic model and economic equilibrium model, growth is a home function of increase in income per capita. That is, places with lower level of income have a high mortality rate and low life expectancy. Taking a cue from the Caribbean Pacific, Australia is the country with the highest per capita income, with a life expectancy of 82 years and an average income of $43,770 per Australian, which makes them rank the second on the United Nations Growth Development Index. The fact indeed speak for itself that the higher income earning has to a large extent guaranteed good health status for the residents of Australia. Also, Australia has been said to have 299 doctors and 959 nurses per 100,000 Australians. In New Zealand, there are 1,087 nurses and health workers per 100,000 residents of New Zealand, making them rank number 2 in the United Nations Development Index. Hence, our point is that the success of the health situation in any country is to a large extent dependent on the availability of human capital and human resources in the health status of the country. Now, a choice is placed before us today, and posterity would remember us for whichever decision we make. We may decide today to agree with me that mass employment is indeed a guarantee for good health status in any country. Or you may continue to argue that mass employment is not a good guarantee, does not guarantee a good health status, as there are indeed truly other factors that contribute to it. But I pray that you choose the former, because the former deals with the problem from the roots and not from the branches. Now, the problem with dealing with an issue from the branches and not from the roots is that whatever you cut from the branches is fed by the roots, and it will continue to germinate. Now, we must embrace this imperative of mass employment to be able to increase the income of any country, because statistics has it that a country with a high income, an increased income per capita, brings about a low level of mortality rate and high level of life expectancy. I pray that you would today choose the option of mass employment as indeed a sure guarantee for the assurance of good health status. We are not talking about excellent health, but we are saying that when a thing is good, it is high, maybe not at the best, because other factors which you may consider are the most important factors, which we disagree is the most important factor, are those things that bolster to a large extent the assurance of good health status.
The people are the state. The state is the people. And so the state is like a tree. It finds a common ground and hopes to grow gracefully. However, so self-evident a fact it is that even while a tree is planted upon the belly of the earth, the assurance of its health is no ordinary function of itself. That even while a tree grows, until it employs its roots to acquire the life-giving mineral resources of the earth, there is no possibility that a healthy tree will grow in its place. A healthy tree filled with wealth, the one that has grown in might, in sprite, and in sight. Yet in spite of the paradoxical undertones of this parable, the already established truths find itself applicable in similar veins to the very debate that has convened us here on today. The truth remains that there is no way an economy can grow healthily without it employing its roots to acquire the mineral resources of good health care. For you see, in our modern times, good health is not just a luxury. It is a commodity, one which must be gotten. In other words, paid for, and paid for that matter with money. Money which must be gotten and derived only sustainably and rightfully from mass employment. It is settled. A proud representative of Babcock University, my name is Oludikwa Samuel, a mass communicator hailing from God's own chosen university in Nigeria, buttressing on the aforementioned proposition that the provision of mass employment will guarantee a good health status for the citizenry, or in other words, the people, from coast to coast, from inland to inland, and from continent to continent. It is no news today that for you to be healthy or for you to stand on your feet in avoidance of infirmity, you must have a price you must pay. It comes in the form of a visit to the hospital, or in the form of a buying of a drug from a pharmaceutical, or from the wearing of clothes who would prevent you from the harsh weathers of the world. Either ways, you must pay for something. No wonder the Italian proverb makes it known that he who is healthy is rich, even though he knows it not. Because health itself is a commodity which must be bought. And so travel with me to the mind thought that says that unemployment is also a bane to society, in the terms that unemployment does not only reduce the purchasing capacity of its citizens to buy health, but it's also a form of oppression. Because health, as they say, is not just an affection of the body, but also of the mind, the conscience. Wale Soyinka, my model, my role model, will put it this way: the idle man is a mastermind of obscenity. And so my first point is this, that mass employment will elevate the health status of the people in the sense that its gain and fruits will diminish and will reduce the fruits of evil negative employment, or idleness you might call it. Have you ever heard the quote that an idle man is a devil's workshop? Coming back home to Nigeria, it is self-evident that what happens in the majority of our northern states is a function of two major things according to research: unemployment and illiteracy. Unemployment, mind you, it's pushing people to the nerve. Think about a father who cannot feed his child or make his wife proud, offered a check from a volatile hand of evil to perpetrate death to his fellow man. Can you look that man in the eye and tell him no? Can you look that man in the eye and tell him to look back at his family and see them suffering, to see the reflection of his guilt in their eyes, rather than go out there to slit the throat of somebody who he does not know? Mass employment, we've said, is an initiative that will subject its recipients to be goal setters, goal getters, and people who are busy contributing to the development of the nation. Either ways, mass employment in this way is the foundation, according to Benjamin Disraeli, a British politician and author, upon which the happiness of the people and the powers of the state depend. And let us not forget that it is the same employment that guarantees the sense of positivism and responsibility that is needed for a citizen of a country to be responsible and at the same time aware of keeping himself whole and heavy for a better life tomorrow. Either way, let us not forget the parable of the three that we are. And if our roots have not employed themselves to tap the mineral resources of our earth in the postmodern times, we will not grow. Elderly, you might say. Thank you very much.
Stroke, diabetes, cancer, and other related diseases are through healthy eating and exercise. The huge question appears, begging to be answered: how many people have access to this healthy diet? Or how many people are disposed to the resources that can bring them this healthy diet? I am Ajebo Chizoma by nomenclature, delineating Babcock University. I stand to talk about this motion that says that provision of mass employment guarantees good health status. Permit me to advance this presentation by saying that mass employment provides the basics of life, which are food, shelter, and clothing. And in turn, they provide good health status. Abraham Maslow, in his hierarchy of needs, recognized the urgency and the pertinence of these physiological needs. This informs why he made these needs the basis upon which other needs grew. Statistics reviewed by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, which was published by www.worldhunger.com. It was revealed that 805 million people out of 7.3 billion of the population of the world were suffering from chronic malnourishment between 2012 to 2014. What a tragedy. It is even heartbreaking that 791 million out of this population are in the developing countries. Global Issues, published on the 24th of September 2011, and it has it that 21,000 children die every day out of poverty, hunger, and diseases that can be silently eradicated. Furthermore, if these go on to explain the premise, the relationship of these variables in this proposition. If these people have access to jobs that can give them at least $1 per day, their story probably would have changed. Furthermore, the consciousness of man depends on the health of the psychology. Therefore, if a man cannot provide for himself and his family, he constantly is depressed. On this premise, I concur to the words of Michelle Bachelet, and it says that one of the factors of a country depends on the demand of the human capital. If you don't provide the citizens with adequate employment, they will not have access to healthcare. And if they don't have access to healthcare, we stand to lose potentials. Thank you.
My question is, outside this place, outside this hall, who's your audience? You've made a point about the importance of the provision of mass employment and how it guarantees good health. Now, which set of people all around the world are your audience? Which different groups of people are you talking to make sure that adequate or mass employment is provided in different societies in the world? Thank you.
You were able to tell us the health situation in Switzerland, New Zealand, and Australia or Canada, as the case may be. But you didn't tell us anything about Nigeria, so that we start to compare ourselves with those countries and know whether we are dying of poverty, of bad health, and know what to do about it. Thank you very much.
Dr. Mrs. Uchemadu from the University of Abuja. Mine is an observation. I would like to observe that some of the examples of the claims are not really supported by full details and facts. Not just like in Canada it was said, if you mean to quote a journal, a Canadian journal, it should be stressed and made clear to the audience, because we believe you've done some research before coming to argue on these things, so that we will be better enlightened. Thank you.
I think that we are just listening to presentations, and we're going to have about 6 of those presentations. I think we can reserve some of the comments if they are not directly impacting on what we want to do there, otherwise we'll be here for quite a long while. Thank you.
Okay, according to the Keynesian theory in economics, basically the burden of creating mass employment lies solely on the government. But I would advise that given the situation of things in Nigeria and in a lot of countries, that we embrace self-employment, and we also look up to the special purpose vehicles such as the SURE-P in Nigeria, the NYSC, and then public-private partnerships. Then about the situation in Nigeria, presently, our mortality rate has remained stagnant since year 2000 at 38.35%, with a life expectancy of 55 years and a percentage of 12 doctors, 95 nurses, and 6 health workers per 100,000 Nigerians up according to the United Nations Index. Then about our facts, I sincerely apologize for not telling you where we got them from. So the Canadian index would be from the Canada Health Initiative National Population Survey in 2009, and the WHO World Data Bank and the HLF report in 2014. Thank you very much.
The first school, that was Babcock University, they spoke for provision of mass employment guarantees good health status for the people. This university will be against the topic.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, my fellow debaters, and the audience. My name is Okabonye Charles Chukwani, representing Bayes University, and I will be arguing against the notion that the provision of mass employment guarantees good health status for the people. I would first like to focus upon the word that leaps out of that sentence, guarantee. What is a guarantee? A guarantee is a certainty. A guarantee is an assurance to say that mass employment alone, the simple enumeration of employment, guarantees good health status for all the people. It's a fallacious claim. It is not a guarantee because the World Health Organization outlays 4 principles that constitute what makes a healthy mind and body. Those 4 principles are: 1, the social environment a person resides in; 2, the physical environment a person resides in; 3, the economic environment a person resides in; and 4, the individual choices and behavioral patterns of that person. There are 4 branches to the tree. There is not one single root to this tree. There is not one single element that constitutes what makes a healthy person, what constitutes a good health status. Now, not only does mass employment alone not constitute good health status, but it also has a negative effect on the other 3 factors that determine a good health status. Mass employment negatively impacts an employee's social environment, and a person who is not an employee, their social environment as well. Mass employment negatively impacts the physical environment and also the individual choices and behavioral patterns of people. Let me further clarify. Mass employment affects the individual choices and behavioral patterns people make. Research done by the World Cancer Research Fund in 2013 demonstrates that the countries with the highest rates of employment in the world, such as Sweden, the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, Finland, these countries also have the highest rates of cancer, the highest rates of diabetes, the highest rates of obesity. Are we then saying that there is no direct correlation evident to us, that there is evidence to see that there is a relationship between high levels of employment in these countries generating the economy and the rise in deadly diseases that is plaguing these people? How then can we then say that mass employment guarantees good health status? If we look at the United States specifically, they have a 37% obesity rate. 37% as observed by the World Health Organization. 4 out of every 10 people are obese. That cannot possibly be said to constitute a healthy status. Now I go on to the second determinant of a healthy mind, the physical environment. Let us look at our country, Nigeria. Let us look at the Niger Delta. What has happened to the environment, the physical environment of the Niger Delta as a result of mass employment and mass industry? There is so much mining, so much gas flaring going on in the Niger Delta today. And what has happened to the environment? What happened to the people? The soil is destroyed. Their atmosphere is polluted. They cannot even tell the difference in some places between night and day. That is affecting not only the people that are working for these companies, but also the people that are living in the Niger Delta, that are now having their whole soundness of mind and body polluted, simply because we are trying to generate wealth. We are trying to generate industry through mass employment. Now, how again does mass employment affect the physical industry? Let us look at the country with the largest economy in the world today, China. China has skyrocketed to the top of the global economy as a result of their heavy promotion of industry, which is the area of the economy that needs the most and highest levels of employment. China has a 75% employment to population ratio, which is the 3rd highest in the world, according to the Organization for Economic Control and Development Programs. How does mass employment affect people's social environment? Please, let us think about the social lives of children. There are 150 million children, according to UNICEF, employed in child labor today, right now. Are they not part of mass employment? What about their good? Do we not care about the health status of our children that are growing up? What about them? Are they involved? Are they just tools to be sacrificed to generate income, to generate wealth, to generate money? What is the use if we are sacrificing our children, if we are sacrificing our individual well-being, if we are sacrificing ourselves simply because we are being deceived under the notion that we need the highest level of employment to generate good health? The United Kingdom, as ranked by the Commonwealth Fund, has the best and most efficient healthcare system in the world. But they did not have the highest rate of employment in the world. Not even the second highest, not even the third. How then do we then say that we do not need the highest levels of employment to generate a sufficient and proper healthcare system? The United States of America, according to the same study by the Commonwealth Fund, spends the most money, 17% of their GDP, on their healthcare system. But they have the least efficient, out of the 11 countries ranked, the least efficient healthcare system. Does that then not show that it is not simply about having large amounts of wealth that will show the performance of your healthcare system? It's not simply about generating the largest amounts of money through mass employment that demonstrates what constitutes a good health status. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I'm here to reinforce to you the point that the provision that a mass employment guarantees a good health status for people is a fallacious claim. It cannot be made honestly, because there are 4 elements that constitute a good health status. Like I said, the social environment, the physical environment, and individual choices, and the economic choices. The economic choices alone, the employment alone, cannot make a healthy mind and a healthy body. Henry Ford said that a person cannot discover enough information to state that anything is definitely possible. There is not enough information evident to demonstrate that it is definitely possible to guarantee the good health status of all the people simply with mass employment. Thank you.
My name is Fahad Issa Baba, student of Bayes University, and I'm here to vehemently oppose the motion which says that the provision of mass employment guarantees good health status for the people. For me and my amiable team today is a very simple job. Our job is to prove to you that the provision of mass employment might be a health determinant, but cannot on its own guarantee good health status for the people. And I have empirical evidence to submit, to submit with my claim. And I have empirical evidence to submit with my claim. Ladies and gentlemen, I can understand why anyone or my audience would simply assume that once you have a job, you'd be able to afford good health care. But the reverse is usually the case, and this is apparent even in advanced nations, in countries like the United States of America. And this led to the call by the President Obama of the United States of America, while making his State of the Union address, to indicate that there is a need to increase the salary of workers from the minimum wage of $7.25 to $9. This is because workers don't earn enough to afford good health care for themselves and their families. As soon as President Obama made this statement, a professor from the University of Texas remarked, saying that this is a bad policy and it is going to leave companies with 2 options, either to lay off staff and pick up fewer staff and pay them the minimum wage, or to pick up or to employ people in mass and give them stipends that would not enable them afford good health care for themselves and their families. Ladies and gentlemen, we can take samples from other countries such as Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, the garment industry is responsible for over 85% of their exports. In China, the industries are responsible for millions of jobs. These are models of mass employment, but these workers are paid as little as $38 a month. This is a little above 8,500 naira. I mean, how would this money be enough for one to afford a good health care for himself and his family? That is why Professor Garrett Chamberlain described the mass employment model as a model that is restrictive and regimental and sacrifices fundamental health and fundamental good for the purposes of development. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest model of mass employment known to modern history is the Industrial Revolution of the 1800s that happened in the United Kingdom. This brought about hundreds and thousands of jobs. But what was the health implication of these same mass employment models? It came alongside with detrimental effects to health. It came with diseases such as cholera, typhoid, and all sorts of diseases, and it was rampant, and the spread of these diseases were everywhere. This is mass employment bringing diseases to people. Ladies and gentlemen, the world's biggest private employer of labor today is Walmart. They employ over 2.2 million people. That is over the size of Lesotho as a country. But the same Walmart has been listed by the United States Business Insider as one of the countries that pay below the minimum wage for their workers. Now, these are workers that work and they have employment. It's a model of mass employment, but still don't earn enough to afford good health care for themselves and their families. Today, the United Kingdom has over 10 million families living on welfare. These are people that don't work, and at the same time, the United Kingdom is having the best healthcare system in the world. So this is to tell you that policies and orientation are what are the determinants of these health policies, and not just mass employment. In Nigeria, just recently we had the Ebola epidemic, and Nigeria was successfully able to combat this epidemic. It was so good that the United States of America had to consult Nigeria on how to combat Ebola. I would like to remind you that the United States of America has a bigger rate of mass employment than Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, as I have proven to you that the assurance of good health by mass safety it's fallacious, I would like to give you one guarantee you can take home. The guarantee that mass employment the guarantee that good health is dependent on physical, social, and economic determinants. And if it is kept on the sole determinant of economic health, it would collapse. Thank you.
Due to time constraint, permit me to stand on existing protocols. I'm Haumanta from Bayes University, and I'm here with great elation before you to aid my teammates in critically opposing the motion which states that provision of mass employment guarantees good health status. First and foremost, let me bring to your attention the fact that the mind is the greatest force of life. That the mind is the engine which propels every other existence of being. That is to say, if a person is psychologically healthy, he or she is able to make healthy choices in life. If a person is psychologically depressed, you cannot say that the person is of good health status. If a person is emotionally unstable, such as people with bipolar disorders, you cannot say that the person is of good health. Therefore, to bring the assertion that provision of mass employment on its own is something that is going to guarantee the good health status of people is a fallacious claim. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you will believe me when I tell you that good health status is something that begins in the mindset. In a book written by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, he said, whatever man thinks in his mind, whether negative or positive, has a way of transmuting itself into actual habits and actual mindset. That is to say, if you're able to psychologically, starting from your mind, to make healthy choices, to think in a healthy way, then you're able to be cautious of taking all the other determinants of health in order to maintain a good health status and remain healthy. If even further probed, one of my teammates had made mention that provision of mass employment is actually something that disrupts people from being able to achieve and maintain a good health status. The Kansas State University, in a study conducted by the Kansas State University, they said that it is a thing that is very rampant that more employees are actually less disturbed about their psychological well-being, because most people tend to underestimate the essence of a healthy mind, a healthy soul, and a healthy psychology and the structure of man. Also in a research conducted by the UK, in the UK Charity Month, millions of UK workers had made the assertion that they were being psychologically depressed due to the demanding things from work. When a person is not psychologically stable, he or she is unable to make life choices that are going to better the person. Employment is just a little man. You have to be oriented. You have to know all the things, all the better life choices you're supposed to make. Section 17 of the Constitution, for instance, which is the fundamental directives and objective principles of state policy, makes mention of welfare and health. But this is under a non-justiciable aspect of the charter. That is to say, a country that is strong enough, with so many other principles put in place, know that they cannot guarantee good health status. Rather, they are working towards achieving and aiming a good health status. So to make the assertion that provision of employment on its own is something that's going to guarantee good health status is a completely fallacious assertion. With this, I rest my case.
And on this note, I'd like to make some recommendations. Firstly, definitions should be made so that we know what line and what school of thought you are basing your arguments on. Secondly, when we say guarantee, since you are not facing anybody, I would like to come from the view that the guarantee comes with the employment. That is the financial benefit. Being employed gives you money. That money gives you ability to be able to keep up for yourself, which is giving the health service. So now, it's your personal choice to make use of this money for your health. The same way your car comes with a seat belt. It's your choice if you use the seat belt for your safety or not. So there's a guarantee. Then two, when practicing, try to rebut your points by yourself, within yourself. So my question is, can you assert, can you assert that child labor is part of mass employment? That's my simple question. Because you mentioned something about child labor is under mass employment. So I just wanted to verify that. Thank you very much.
My name is Wakocha Chibwezi. I want to find out, because when the first speaker was speaking, he mentioned the issue of gas flaring in Niger Delta. And then the issue of mass employment in Niger Delta. My question is there mass employment? Is gas flaring an issue of mass employment?
The first question was asking whether we can say that is child labor mass employment. Okay. I would say we definitely can't say that child labor is mass employment because according to UNICEF, companies such as Primark, companies such as Jordan, companies such as Adidas, these are some of the most reputable shoe companies. You know, many people, I'm sure in this audience, have bought Adidas shoes or Jordan shoes, and Nike as well, have been found to employ many children in many sweatshops and factories that are making these shoes. So of course they are contributing to the income that is generated. So of course it's mass employment. And the second question asks me if is it mass employment in the Niger Delta, and is gas flaring related to mass employment? First of all, if you study environmental law, companies such as Shell, up until today, employ many workers in the Niger Delta, large amounts in camps of like 2,000 or 3,000. And those camps don't even have proper excretion facilities, meaning that the workers are defecating directly into the ground, which is destroying, like as we said, the physical environment, which is destroying the health status of the people. And yes, I would assume that just simply one company alone, for maybe a couple months or weeks of work, employing 4,000 workers at a time or 3,000 workers is mass employment. And he then asked me, is gas flaring related to mass employment? Gas flaring and mass employment are different issues when taken in a vacuum. But if you are employing large amounts of people to gas flare, then you are using mass employment to do gas flaring. So I'm not saying that the issues are related on their own, but when they are used together, that they are contributing towards a negative effect towards the health status. Thank you.
They are against the topic. African countries are far better off without World Health Organization's intervention. They are against the topic. You can come on stage now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, my co-debaters, invited guests, and members of the audience. My name is Aliobini Mariam Efwe. I'm here representing Igbinedion University, Okada, the first Nigeria Premier University. I am here to oppose the motion which states that African countries are far better off without WHO's intervention, that's World Health Organization. Hereafter, I'll refer to World Health Organization as WHO. I can assure you authoritatively, as a medical student that has undergone training for more than 5 years under WHO's guidelines and with direct contact with the fellows, that we are in a dilemma. Should WHO's intervention continue or discontinue? I have 3 solutions for that. Solution number 1, it should continue. Solution number 2, it should continue. And solution number 3, it should continue. The following are my points to buttress this motion. Firstly, let's go back to the era of smallpox. I'm sure some of us might not even remember. In the 1927-1928, there was a smallpox pandemic. Africa seconded Asia, having an annual case of 15 to more than 30,000 cases per year. But with the inception of WHO in Africa in 1952, by 1979, smallpox was eradicated in Africa and the world at large. So how then do you tell me that we don't need WHO's intervention, when its intervention helped in the eradication of smallpox, which we don't even remember today anymore? In the option of platform, WHO actually provides a platform because of its good name to attract foreign donors. Take, for instance, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Do you know that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has invested several millions of US dollars into the fight against malaria? Some of you might know it as the Rollback Malaria Program. It's in conjunction with WHO and other organizations. That alone, do you know that about 627,000 people die of malaria every year, and 90% come from sub-Sahara Africa? So WHO has helped in reduction of this by providing a platform for donors, and also it has saved over 1 million children since the year 2000. Coming to the option of survey, WHO plays a role in preparedness, survey, and response to crisis. Let me make a reference to the popular case of the Ebola, which struck us in 2014 July. It affected, in Nigeria here, it affected 19 people, out of which 7 died. But with the assistance of WHO, the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, they were able to curb this problem of Ebola, preventing an epidemic, curtailing an epidemic from becoming a pandemic. So how then do you say we don't need the intervention of WHO when WHO, along with other organizations, just saved us from the dreaded Ebola virus we all know of? We need WHO's intervention. In the aspect of research, WHO generates and analyzes data for different health, analyzes data of different health sectors in respective countries. In this analysis of data, this data help them to know the specific health needs of a particular country and to work towards ways to meet these specific health needs. Someone that helps you to generate and analyze data, you are telling me you don't need the person's intervention? Do you know today the prevalence of sickle cell traits in Nigeria, Ghana, Congo is 20 to 30%, and that of Uganda is 45%. Imagine 45% of a population with sickle cell traits, which we all know as commonly referred to as sickler, being a sickler, having the trait. So how then do we say we don't need WHO's intervention? Let's come to the aspect of research. Research, evidence, and information are the foundation for a solid health policy. WHO